welcome to another edition of the Clock End Talk, a podcast for miserable Arsenal fans everywhere. Can I say that? Miserable bastard Arsenal fans everywhere?
Is there any happy Arsenal fans anywhere at the moment?
That voice you can hear is Tony. Welcome, Tony.
Hello, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good, and I'm really good because we've got Tez on the podcast again. Hello, Tez.
How are we, mate? How are we, lads? Yeah, it's one of them weeks, isn't it?
We're all fucking miserable. Even me. Even the positive fucking let's keep Emery till Christmas wanker is fucking miserable.
Oh, don't tell me you've changed your mind.
Well, let's just say when there's no performances, when there's no style, but the results are coming in, there's the argument that, you know, sooner or later we'll keep picking up the results, the performances will come. But we've got to face facts now. We've got 2 points from the last possible 9. We're struggling. We are really, really struggling. And the manager's done what everyone wanted him to do. He's played Ozil now. He's got 2 creative players in. He's fucked off Xhaka. And it's still not working. so we've got to change something.
Yeah, it's becoming a bit of a mess, isn't it, to be honest? And look, the team lineup that went out, I was quite happy with. You know, obviously everybody wanted Ozil, and we'll get onto it soon. But we can get on it now if you want. I was talking to you boys earlier. Was he set up to fail?
Tony?
Well, look, I said 2 weeks ago on here that he would play at Anfield because they would expect us to lose and not see much of the ball, which would mean he'd be really ineffective. And then he would have his look, I've brought him in, and that's what's happened. He's made no difference, and he would be back into the wilderness. I think that night, probably, I'm talking about Anfield, went as bad as it possibly could for Emery. We squandered a 2-goal lead twice. Ozil played and was arguably the best player on the pitch. Maybe Martinelli, maybe Ozil, like 50-50. And we still lost. So he's losing leads again, losing games, and the guy who feels like he's wanted to alienate for pretty much all of this season comes in and makes himself undroppable nearly, or very close to. And I mean, if it had dropped him after that in most of the fans' eyes, it would have been a lot more toxic than it already is.
Right. So you're saying he's put him in there to foul, and Tez, you called it. That's an opinion, but is the opposite side to that? Maybe he's not putting him into foul. He's now really nervous about his job, and he's putting him in because he's now trying to please everyone.
Well, that's as bad.
I'm not saying it's good.
I was going to say. No, look, and I hear exactly what you're saying, but you know, you got a £350 player sitting paying him a week. He's sitting on. Well, is he sitting on the bench or is he sitting at home? One of the two. What's that? His second Premier League game he started this season. At what you look at the Arsenal team, boys, and is he the best player that we've got on the pitch apart from, you know, obviously the obvious Aubameyang and Lacazette, but he'd be in your top 5 if you looked at an Arsenal team, wouldn't you? I can't work it out.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Darren, because I said to the person next to me, like one of my mates, at 4-2 up on Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it was, Wednesday, the irony that it could be Ozil saving Emery's job.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah.
I mean, Ozil, we can say that Ozil's one of our best players. My main criticism of our manager, you know, I've been fairly supportive of him and of the club, but the one constant complaint I've had is that he's let our best, most expensive asset just rot. And not being able to find a solution for that is a huge problem. And let's be honest, Ozil has been disappointing in his 4 years, 5 years at the club. He's not been the player that we hoped he was going to be. He's been ineffective in a lot of big games. He's a flat track bully, and you know, maybe the last week has sort of proved that. But isn't it nice having the best player at the club on show again? I mean, didn't you, Tony, you went up to Liverpool. He was majestic, wasn't he? And he was playing against a lot of kids, and he was playing against, you know, a Liverpool second, third string team. But he was majestic, wasn't he?
He was very good, and I think it's a bit unfair when it's said, like you say, he was playing against a lot of kids. Yeah, they had a lot of young players, but if you look at their midfield, it was Chamberlain, Lallana, and Keita. All of them. Oh no, Lallana was 10 million short of him. Chamberlain, they paid the same price for him as we did, and Keita, they paid 20 million more. Their team on the night was more expensive than ours. Every one of their goal scorers was older than every one of our goal scorers. Like, I'm not saying it was a strong team, but I think it's just the detractors of Ozil, which we know there are many, are just going, oh yeah, but it was against a second string team. And it's like, well, to run that midfield ain't easy, because then it wasn't. If they would have played like Sepp Vandenberg, who played at centre back, if it was 17, if him and the other centre, like another 17-year-old played in centre midfield, then you could go, fair enough. You kind of expect an easy night from him, for him, but it wasn't. Their midfield was easily the strongest unit on the pitch. So I think that's just another way of detracting from him. Look, we know there's a lot of Arsenal fans that don't like him, and I think that's an easy way out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming from the side that I actually do love watching him play, but I don't. It's back to our regular complaint that players who don't play very much get better week in, week out.
Yeah,
I think
I also disagree with the doesn't turn up in big matches. I saw a stat the other day that his contribution in games versus the other top six since he's been at the club is a goal or assist every other game. That's high. It's very high.
Tony, let me put it another way. He joined the club, 5 years ago?
Oh, no, has he lived up to expectation? Absolutely not.
Well, there you go.
I'm just going to go and microwave some popcorn, boys.
What I'm saying is that when he joined the club, we signed Mesut Ozil for £40 million when £40 million was worth, 150 million in today's money. We bought one of the stars, of world football, and I mean, there's.
Oh, hang on, he was a Real Madrid reject.
Yeah, but he was one of the stars of world football, wasn't he? He was playing he won the
Germany,
World Cup,
I suppose. But yeah, I suppose when you look at it international. Well, he's no mug. So you're right. I'll let you have it.
Were you not excited when we signed him?
Yeah, I was more excited with Ozil than Sanchez.
Yeah.
I have to say I was. Yeah.
And after 5 years, forget this year, because forget the Emery reign. Has he lived up to your expectations, or have you been disappointed? I mean, I love him. I love watching him. I think.
Look, I've always been a bit critical of Ozil on this show over the last couple of years, and I keep swinging the guts Xhaka. Wherever. I like Granite, but let's just say that relationship might finish soon. But and it's I play a bit of devil's advocate with Schwinn as well. But the problem is it the fans or the media who don't like Ozil? So all of a sudden the fans are jumping on the media bandwagon, because how many times did you see a game over them 4 or 5 years that, whether you go on any social platform, Facebook, Twitter, whatever Instagram, whatever you go on, and you see them say, oh, he didn't perform again, he went missing. But there was a stat running around back in 2015 where he was one of the highest assists. So I think it was 2015, don't quote me on that. But, so are we playing the social, the media and the social aspect of it?
Well, I watch football with my eyes. Schwinn's your stat man. I've just watched Ozil, and I called him a flat track bully. When he's playing well and he's in control of the game and he's running football matches, he is a joy to watch, and he gets loads of assists. And you were right, there was a stat. I think it was in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. He's always up there and thereabouts at the leading assists. It's just, for me, just watching him, I want him to take a game against Manchester City, Liverpool, Spurs, by the scruff of the neck and actually run and dominate those games, and I don't see it. I just don't see it. I mean, at the moment, I love watching him. I love watching him play.
On a good day, he's good. He's unstoppable. What I also wanted to ask you boys was, obviously we play Liverpool, and Darren, you said a second, third string team. Tony, you said they were pretty strong in the midfields, and I agree. One thing I noticed, though, is, obviously everybody knows, 5 goals against that Liverpool team were scored without Aubameyang, Lacazette, but we had Ozil. Does Ozil play better with obviously Martinelli and that? Does the style of football Tony suit him better in that Liverpool game? Well, what was the 5 goals? We're flat out scoring fucking 1 goal against the Wolves.
That goal was the game was just a kamikaze game. The pitch was so open. Neither team knew their units well enough. So offside lines were all over the place. Tracking runners, no one sort of knew who was doing anything, and it was made for attacking football. And that's how it panned out. I think we nicked 2 goals from nicking the ball 25 to 30 yards out, and it's not like we were particularly pressing. That's stuff you usually say of a pressing team. But we wasn't. It's just that it was so sloppy and so disjointed from both teams. It was one of them games that you sort of go, it was entertaining. Neutrals probably loved it. But as a technical quality game of football, it was pretty shit. But you don't really care about that. Like, in any game, you don't really care if it's a high-level game. You care about the results and what happens on the pitch.
I think it's really good, and we should mention that Mustafi, who's getting better week by week, the longer he stays out of the first team, reminded us what a cunt he can be.
Oh, what a poor cunt! Like, seriously, he gets on. Like, I thought, you poor cunt. Like, you get a go and you're fucking an own goal. I thought, I almost felt sorry for him.
Oh, you've got to look at his face. His face. He just knew.
I know.
He was saying, "I'm a cunt. I'm a cunt. They're all going to be looking at me now. They're all going to be calling me a cunt."
I know we conceded 4 goals after that, but he actually recovered quite well. I mean, Holding was much worse than him on the night.
Yes, he was. Holding another saviour.
Saviours, yeah.
I mean, that was it, wasn't it? Holding was going to be the saviour. Bellerin, Holding, and Tierney were going to be the players to rescue this team. Holding looked disjointed. Bellerin still looks well off the pace to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so
you boys always worry when we go to penalties. I'm looking for a bet 365 or something against Arsenal win penalties. I don't know. There's got to be a stat somewhere. When was the last time we won a penalty shootout?
See, I had this argument with someone last year, and I bring it up in a conversation recently. I can't remember if it was on here or a conversation I was having with someone else. We have this perceived image of being bad from penalty shootouts.
Yeah, I don't think we are.
We haven't lost one, apart from the other day, since about 2004.
Really?
Yeah, we're really good at penalty shootouts. Really good.
I remember, okay. I'm assuming you don't listen, but remember that little prick Noah when I was on his podcast? He was like, that was before like the Community Shield or something, and he was like, what if it goes to penalties? And I said, our record's really good. And he was like, but everyone says. And I was like, I don't care what everyone says. I'll tell you what the results are if you want.
Like, I'm with you, Tony. I remember us being very, very strong in penalty shootouts, really strong.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had loads.
No.
But I did look at the time. I remember when I was having this argument with him, because I couldn't remember a single one we'd lost after, what was it called, the UEFA Cup final as it was in the time against Galatasaray. I couldn't really remember one after that, and I think there was one other sort of semi-innocuous one, a Community Shield or something. But we beat Roma in the Champions League. We'd won FA Cup semis against Wigan, but it still had to be won. And then we'd won other innocuous ones in cups and whatnot. But Chelsea in the Community Shield, it'd been a long, long time since we'd lost one.
I was talking about social influence. Well, that's exactly where I got that from, social influence.
Do you know, I think, Tez, one of the reasons why people think that is because Petr Cech was had such a bad reputation for saving penalties. I think it just all gets linked in. You know,
he only had one penalty shootout when he was at the club. It was against Chelsea, and they had 2 off target.
Yeah, so we won that one. All right, so we have that fun in the week. Did you enjoy the game, Tony, on Wednesday? I mean, it was 5-5. You go all that way up to Liverpool, and then you've got to come all the way back defeated. Were you disappointed?
Look, I always say them games for me are a bit of fun. I want to be entertained. Look, of course, I want to win, but it's not the be all and end all. You want to see the next level or next generation blooded, and I saw all of that. But having been 4-2 up, 3-1 up, 5-4 up with seconds to go, and then lose on penalties, you're going to be disappointed. I'm not going to say I was distraught. I was probably more disappointed by yesterday's result than I was by that. But had we gone up there and lost 3-2 in a normalish game, I wouldn't have been too bothered, to be honest. Same way, had we won, I wouldn't have gone around shouting about, we beat Liverpool at Anfield. Like, you see that stat, they haven't lost there for 2 years or whatever it is. And to be honest, had we broken that, I wouldn't have counted it. I would still think, well, they haven't been beat in a proper game for however many years.
I think the silver lining there, I mean, I'm one of these people that really take the League Cup seriously. I always say that we're only in 4 fucking competitions and it's all about winning things. And we're not going to win the Champions League. We're not going to, we're not going to win the Premier League. So it leaves us,
we got Europa League.
We've got the I sort of say Champions League. We're not even in the.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? There's a major European competition. I'm going to fucking Portugal tomorrow, Tess. I'm all excited about the Europa League.
I just don't want you to get too excited on the fans be thinking, Darren Dad said we're in the bloody Champions League.
No, what I said was we're not going to win the Champions League.
Might one day, mate. We might one day.
No, but what I'm saying is now we're not. We're in the Europa League. We're not going to win the Champions League. We're not going to win the Premier League.
You like these trophies, and you want to be in it to win it. I get that.
So I want it, but I thought losing, with the state of play at the moment, with the challenge for this year's top 4, huge for us as a club. And I just remember that when the semi-finals of the League Cup come around, it's 2-legged in sort of January, February time, end of January, beginning of February, when you just have got so many games being played. The FA Cup kicks off. And I just think that with us not being involved for a change might just actually work to our favour. What do you think on that?
It helps us in December. I know, I think December we're now down to a game every 6 days, and Liverpool have got a game every 3 days. I know they're involved in other competitions, to be honest, what more pleases me is it shows we've got the squad to handle more games. As I said, for me, I never really care about it. I know you value it. I don't. I go to it. I go for fun. Don't really care. Of course, when I went to the final against City a couple of years ago, I wanted to win it. I want to win every time Arsenal are playing, but it's not, for me, I see them as second string games.
I think there's, I think you get sorry, Tez. I just think you get a winning mentality as a club. Look, Manchester City keep winning the fucking thing. Their players get into this habit of winning. And I think that's just something that's missing at our club. We haven't got a winning mentality at any level in our club, maybe in the ladies' team. And I just think that winning these competitions would just give some belief. It just gives some.
I see exactly where you're coming from. I totally understand where you're coming from, but I'm a little bit sided with Tony because, look, when Wenger won the FA Cup after all them years of not winning the trophy, I was so pumped and excited, and then he went on and we won a couple more. That was absolutely brilliant, and it was probably because we hadn't won a trophy for a long time, so it was pretty special. I think when we done Gurner to Gurner, I actually said that was one of my special moments, probably the last 10 years or something. But now you've got Emery in charge. We're spending, we've spent good money on Pepe, Aubameyang, Lacazette. Look, I don't know what the transfer. We've spent good money in the last two seasons, haven't we? So at what point do we set our goal a little bit higher than an EFL Cup or a bloody FA Cup? I want to be challenging for the Premier League, or I want to be winning the Europa League and moving to Champions League and competing there. And that's type of where my bar's set at the moment. Don't get me wrong, I'll take an FA Cup along the way, but Emery's only been there for 2 seasons. So I don't feel sorry for Emery, and I don't go, I feel sorry for that poor cunt. We need to win an FA Cup or something. That's just where I type it on. Sorry.
Just to give you the facts, since September 2004 until Tuesday night, the penalties finished on Wednesday night. We had lost 1 penalty shootout, and that was to Bradford City in the League Cup.
Well, there you go.
I'm saying that image. As I said, I remember having this argument a year ago. That's why it was in my head. I mean, we hadn't won too many. I think saying that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lost 1, 6, 7, 8. So out of 9, we was 8-1.
Yeah, that's a pretty good record, isn't it?
Yeah,
very good record.
All right, well, let's forget about Wednesday. We're out of that competition. We then got we know it's a tough fixture against Wolves at home. Wolves have turned into a pretty decent side. They hadn't got their Europa League Thursday night this week, so they were a little bit fresh. They planned well. We knew it was going to be a tough game. They pretty much beat us last year. I think we got a last minute, or towards the end of the game, we grabbed an equaliser. you see the team that came out. We've got two creative players, Ceballos and Ozil in there. The back 4-5 sort of picks itself. There's no Xhaka, so Torreira gets the place that everyone wants him to play in midfield. There's no Pepe, no Saka, but he's just played two up front. What did you think when you saw that lineup, Tez?
Mate, look, the only thing, it's not a real biggie. I thought it was pretty good. I was quite happy to see Ozil there. My first instinct was, here we go, he's been set up to fail. The only thing that I was thinking to myself, if you're going to put Ozil in, do you put Pepe in and take out Ceballos? That was and it's not a biggie. I don't mind whether Ceballos is there or not, but I thought maybe, because, that was the only one. I thought Ceballos out, Ozil in, and I'd like to see Pepe, Lacazette and Aubameyang, because I just felt that Wolves they're gonna sit back. They got, five at the back, did they have?
Mm-hmm.
And you could see what style they're going to play. So that was my only type of thoughts on the lineup. Granite, obviously, he's not ready. We've seen, and we'll probably go on a little bit later, or it might be a question. We've seen the statement on what happened during the week. I kind of knew that he wasn't going to play, and hats off to Emery, probably good idea as well. Guendouzi, Torreira, that was my only one. Is Ozil for Ceballos, and I would like to see him Pepe in.
Okay, Tone?
I was fuming. I don't know if Tez saw my tweet, but as the lineup came out, I tweeted, Wolves are going to play with five men quite deep. The only player we've got that ever beats a man was on the bench. In the last few weeks, our attacking philosophy has been give it to him and hope. That philosophy went because he was on the bench. You also know Wolves are going to be very dangerous in wide areas because they've got two good wing backs, and then they tend to play definitely Jota, who drifts wide left, and then Adama's been in such good form recently, you're almost certain he's going to play, who was drifting wide right. He's naturally a right winger. So they're going to have two men on the flanks at all times. We've played, whether you want to call it a diamond or a free in midfield, where Ceballos isn't going to stick to the touchline. Torreira's not on the other side. I knew Guendouzi was going to play deep and Torreira was going to play in front of him, so that was already winding me up. And then as I said, Torreira's not going to go wide, so they're going to have two on the full back. The same on the other side, because Ceballos isn't really going to be wide. I was really unhappy when that line... And it wasn't only... personnel-wise, I kind of half agree with Tez. The only thing I would have done differently is gone 4-2-3-1, and it would have been Pepe for Ceballos. I would have had Torreira deeper than Xhaka. So the personnel wasn't the key issue, but the system I thought was horrible. I thought it was the exact wrong way to play Wolves, to be honest.
Saying all that, okay, so the lineups come out, and if we could ignore the first 10 minutes when we were battered, and probably the last 10 minutes as well.
Just quickly, so I got Schwinn tickets for this game with him and some friends from uni. He turned up at 10 past. So after the game, he was like, I said, you missed basically the worst part of it.
Yeah, the guy who sits next to me at the game came 10 minutes late as well. And he said, what have I missed? And we'd been battered for 10 minutes,
That bloke, he'd be fucking useless, isn't he? Like, you get him tickets, him and his mates, and he can't even be fucking asked to lob up on time. And can I ask, did he lob up, obviously, well, my question was going to be later, Tony, did he lob up half an hour early and shout your beer? Obviously not.
No, of course not.
He's a miserable cunt, isn't he?
Well, he was meant to be on this podcast as well. He was meant to
Haven't heard from him.
Although,
quicker he gets fucking pumped by Mexico border or something, it'd be better.
We should get on, because I don't know if you've been reading the group this evening, but Tash likes to listen to this while she's in the shower, so she never gets to finish an episode. So we're 24 minutes in. So Tash, I hope you're still washing your hair. So what I was going to say is that, so that lineup comes out. I mean, two creative players. He's taking Pepe out. Lacazette, Aubameyang. It's a good side. Now, we know the result was terrible, and we know the situation of the club is terrible. But did you not think that was possibly the best we've played for a few weeks? I'm not saying we played well, but didn't you think that we actually played quite well at times in that match?
No.
I I didn't think so.
I mean, I'm comparing it. I'm not saying compared to it. I was just thinking compared to the Sheffield United game, compared to the who did we play last week? Crystal Palace game. I just thought there was more to like. We looked fairly solid. I mean, they had loads of shots, but all from distance. They called our goalkeeping interaction twice, I think, in the match, apart from the goal.
I know you're trying to be positive, mate. I get it, but I don't think. Look, this isn't the Arsenal Football Club, and this isn't what I'm used to watching.
No.
I just.
And you say they called our keeper they called Leno into action twice. I mean, he made a very good save from Neves and an amazing save from Doherty.
Yeah,
I can't remember Rui Patricio making a save that I wouldn't have made.
Yeah, well, that was the twice.
Huh?
That was the twice, yeah, plus the goal.
Yeah, but you're saying, okay, we limited them to 3 chances, the goal and them 2. We scored, and then apart from that, the only other save that I wouldn't have made was possibly from Torreira, where the ball Chambers put across into absolutely no one, and they fucked it up at the back post.
Yeah, well, there was a couple. I think Lacazette went close, so keeper made quite a good save.
He had a shot that he massively underhit that had to get down low to, but I'd have fancied myself, and I'm 5'7".
There was another one off Aubameyang, but I don't think you can even count
the back pass early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was back pass.
Yeah.
So there was nothing for you in this game. You didn't think that having Ozil...
I thought we controlled the ball better, but that was at the absence of actually doing anything attacking-wise, because Guendouzi had a horrible start at the base of the diamond, and it kind of made me think, well, maybe that's why Xhaka struggles, because they've got no fucking options ever, and it's not just Xhaka. So then Ozil had to come deep and help him, and pretty much kept the ball all the time when Ozil came deep, because we had that extra man there. But then we suffered the same problem of having no one forward. And again, I think we kind of lacked from where Ozil had to drop deep, and then we didn't have enough people high up the pitch.
I'm glad you brought that up, though, Tony, actually, because I was thinking similar with the Granite thing. And, yeah.
Oh, Guendouzi.
I didn't want to sound biased.
Yeah, the first 10 minutes, Guendouzi was just giving it away in the most dangerous areas, and it was like, oh, yeah, he'll be okay next time. Oh, okay, he'll be okay next time. There's just no options for them. And then Ozil come deep to make an option, kept the game ticking over, picked up some really intelligent positions, not positions that are going to hurt anyone, but it allowed us to actually have some form of control. As I said, I just think without Pepe there, someone that could then also beat the defender and give them something to worry about, it was just keeping the ball. It wasn't penetrating or keeping the ball to try and cut them apart. It was just keeping the ball for the sake of it, essentially. So
you both would have had Pepe in. Tez says he would have had him in for Ceballos. What about you, Tony? Who would you have left out?
I would have done the same. I'd have gone 4-2-3-1 with Guendouzi and Torreira deep, Ozil 10, Aubameyang left, Laka up front, and Pepe right.
Well, I'm interested, but we won't do it yet, but I'm interested to get to your 3-2-1s, because I thought they were quite obvious in this game. There was only 3 players I thought were any good.
This is going to be very interesting.
I don't think my 3 will be the same as everyone else's.
No, maybe not. I just want to touch on the substitutions, because the manager's getting a lot of shit at the moment, and I thought the substitutions were kind of strange. I mean, Martinelli for Lacazette, you can sort of understand. Martinelli's the man in form. Lacazette hasn't played that much football lately. Is fair enough with that one?
Yeah, he also still doesn't. He looked better, but he still doesn't look 100% sharp or fit. So that sub I'm okay with.
And then he takes off Torreira from a sort of box-to-box central midfield diamond position and puts on a left winger.
Can I ask this Saka? And obviously, boys, I've been out of the loop for a little bit for a couple of weeks. Where do we rate him? Where do you rate him out of a 1 to 10 or comparing another player? Because Emery seems to love him, and all of a sudden Saka's the man.
Well, I think... sorry, Tony. Do you want to take it, Tony? I was just going to say that when he played him, he had an exceptional game, didn't he? I can't remember what game it was now.
Frankfurt.
And Frankfurt. Really exceptional. I think, Tez, at the time you were lying there having your heart fixed. But he had an exceptional game, and the manager, Emery, rewarded him with a start in the next league game, and he was our best player. And I think if you listen to the podcast, you were out of it then, but I think all of us on the podcast gave him our 3 points. He was that
also
good.
just to add, that was Old Trafford as well, so it's not like they've given him a Bournemouth at home. It's a tough game.
Okay.
And he was exceptional,
Yeah, okay.
and he kept his place. And for the first, I think, 3 games he played, he was possibly our best player. You know, I mean, he was
Okay.
that good. And then he sort of drifted a little. The manager sort of kept with him. And now, of course, you know, I think he probably played in 1 game too many. But he's a young kid that started exceptionally well and is now, like any kids at that age, it's hard to consistently perform at a top level when you're young and inexperienced, you know. And he just started really well, Tez. So that's why, you know, you're seeing him a bit.
Yeah, I've got nothing against the kid, and I love the fact that, you know, any manager, when they bring in a bit of youth into the team. But I was like, every week, this Saka seems to be getting a crack. He must have done something good, that was all. So, yeah, okay, fair call.
He really was exceptional. So Torreira comes off and he brings on Saka. I mean, it was a strange one for me. It's it just... Tony, did you make any sense of that one?
No, not at all. Not in the way the game was going, and also it made our shape. Just I didn't know what was going on. It was sort of Saka on the left, Aubameyang and Martinelli up front. One of them kind of half went to the right if they could be bothered, but it wasn't like they were playing from the right. Ozil stayed at the sort of 10-ish. It was just weird. And again, if you're going to bring on a winger, bring the guy on who's been our most effective player in the past 2 weeks, who's got a couple of goals, who's got a couple of assists, whose set-piece deliveries have been vicious at all times, and we were getting a lot of corners yesterday. It just, even the sub made no sense anyway. Torreira for Pepe would have still been a bad sub, but I think Torreira for Saka was an even worse one.
I just didn't get it, you know what I mean?
Holding on. We looked quite comfortable as well. I don't think they were creating anything. And it meant dropping Ceballos deeper, which for me, Ceballos was having his best game for us apart since Burnley. And so moving in from where he was doing well just seemed weird. There just seemed to... There's no logical reason. You know, sometimes you might not agree with something. You can go, okay, I can see what he was trying to do. This goes there, this goes there. It might not work, but I can understand. This, I can't put a reason in my head where it's like, why you've done that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you because, you know, I've been fairly supportive. I was so puzzled by that because I didn't see how that helped at all. And in fact, if anything, we were in the most control we'd been in at that part of the game. We actually were pressing then. We looked fairly decent. Torreira was having a fairly decent game. Ceballos was having a good game. Ozil was having a good game. It felt like we were going to be the next team to score until that substitution was made. And I know they scored within a couple of minutes of it being made, and I don't put that down to that substitution, but it did just seem a really strange...
I half do put it down to that substitution.
Yeah, but did you boys think at the start when you seen the lineup, did you look at the bench and think, geez, that's a weak bench? Because I certainly did, apart from Pepe, obviously. But I looked at that bench and I thought, Willock, Martinelli, Saka. I'm thinking, what is this? What we've come to?
I really rate Willock and Martinelli. To be honest, for me, is so close to a start, and it's debatable whether I'd start him. So I see it as young and inexperienced. I don't really see it as weak.
No, I'm with Tony. I thought Martinelli looks the real deal. Saka has been exceptional. Pepe's, £70-odd million player. I think there was quite a lot of strength on that bench, and it was a pretty good first 11 we put out. So look, all right. So to push this on, so we've had a shit performance. We've made some strange substitutions, and you both said you would have left Ceballos out of that team. Let's do the 3-2-1s.
Well, can I just go? I just said obviously that I do blame the goal on the substitution.
Yeah,
he moves Ceballos deeper, and Ceballos doesn't track the run. You have to blame Ceballos for that, track the run, but he shouldn't ever be in that position. So that's why I was saying with the sub, I do half blame it. Like, I'm not saying, look, it's not all Emery's fault, because you have to say, Ceballos, just follow your fucking runner wherever you are on the pitch. But he shouldn't be in that. He shouldn't be that deep. Torreira should be there. But, yeah, and then
so just remind people, you're talking from the throw in.
Bro, yeah.
So Ceballos throw back. Because there was a lot of people blaming Chambers, I think, and I thought, hang on, that cross should never have happened to start with.
Yeah, the cross is too easy. I think Chambers probably should do a bit better at the back post, especially if Bellerin gets beat there, you kind of half understand it. But when you've got Chambers in the team, one of the things you expect is to be a lot more solid in the air, especially with crosses coming to the back post.
Do you know, I saw it as Socrates as well. I thought he's the one who's misread the flight of that ball, and his feet are wrong. He should he's tall enough and he's close enough to time a jump well there and clear that ball. He's moving backwards. He's got his feet wrong, and he's on his way down.
You're getting into plan B and C though.
No. Right. This is a bread and butter from a central defender. There's a cross comes in, you head it out. He was caught on his heels, and he couldn't jump because he was caught on his heels. I
can't remember whether he was tracking somebody else or something.
No, he wasn't. I don't think he was caught on his heels. I think he was caught underneath it, which can happen. The ball went to the back post. As I said, if it was Bella in there, I would say Socrates has a duty to track round, knowing that we're weak in the air at fullback. I think one of the joys as a centre-back is when you know you've got a right-back, it is essentially a centre-back, you feel like you don't have to cover him at all times. And I think that should be one of the assets of having someone there. Could he have done better, of course, but if you're going to ask me who was more at fault for me, it's Chambers.
I thought the whole thing was a comedy of errors. It's a throw-in. It's a throw-in. It's a looped ball in.
A goal is loads of small errors, apart from you get the glaring ones where, was it Socrates at Watford gave the ball to Cleverley 5 yards out. But in general, goals are 5 or 6 small errors. And it depends how much blame you want to put on this person, that person, or if you want to blame anyone at all.
Yeah. So, okay, who was your
3-2-1.
Who was your best player out there, Tez? Who was your best player?
I'm going to say Lacazette.
What?
3.
What?
Yeah,
Tony, he has been ill.
Aubameyang, sorry.
Did you break your eyes?
No, I'm going to say Aubameyang. No, there was one little touch of Lacazette that he dropped back to Aubameyang. Sorry, that was what I was thinking of. But yeah, he didn't do much else. I'll give a 3 to Aubameyang for the goal. Probably about it, to be honest. I didn't think anybody was outstanding, lads. So it was Lacazette for the assist,
Lacazette got the assist.
Aubameyang. Yeah, he got the assist. I thought he got the goal, but no, it was Aubameyang. That's pretty much the only reason, boys.
Tony?
Tierney. Adama Traore always gives us hell. Everyone that listens regularly knows I'm a huge fan of his anyway. But whenever he plays, he beats the fullbacks for fun and gets the ball in the box. How well he gets the ball in the box because his final product tends to be shit is a different story. I don't think he got the ball into the box once. He always got the yard, but Tierney blocked it and got it out for a throw or put it out for a corner. I don't think Traore got the ball in the box once, and I think they would have planned on that, especially having the overlap. We didn't see enough of him going forward, but for me, Traore is one of their biggest threats, and I think he basically kept him out of the game. It's why I thought it was a really weird sub to being Kolasinac on, because I was really worried about that, but then they didn't get the ball down there after that.
I was just going to mention that. I mean, wasn't that another strange substitution?
Especially at 1-1 when you think we should be chasing the game, and he takes off what for me was our best player. For nothing against Said, but it just was why make that sub? Tierney he ran off the pitch. He didn't look like he was struggling. He didn't look tired.
And it was a like for like, wasn't it? And a slightly inferior like for like. It was a strange decision. Okay, I'll give my 3 points to Ceballos. I thought he was our best player by a mile. Everything we don't want to give it just for energy, but he was always available. His first touch was good. He created lots. His passing was excellent. If it weren't for the mistake for the goal, I'd give him 4 points. But I thought Ceballos was by far and away our best player. Who's your 2 going to, Tez?
I might get a bit shitty. I'm going to give it to Leno.
Okay.
Because of the 2 goals that he did stop that Tony touched on earlier. Obviously they were very good saves, and I thought, well, there goes. There's two potential goals. We could have lost that game. Sure. So Leno gets 2.
What about you, Tony?
Ceballos. I think maybe not making a mistake for the goal maybe would have given him the 3. I think it was his best game apart from Burnley. He was exceptional. I don't think he'll ever be that good again for us. But he was close to that, and that's as much of a compliment as I can pay him. Yeah. But he has made a huge error for the goal, and as I said, he shouldn't be in that position, but the fact was he was, and he didn't track the runner. So should he be there? No. Should he do better? Absolutely. So that's probably stopped me giving him a 3, but he's up there somewhere.
Okay. All right, my 2, I'm going to give it to Mesut Ozil, who was, I thought, very close with Ceballos. I think Ozil touched the ball almost 4 times as much as Torreira, and his pass completion was well in the 90s. He had a really, really good game. I thought he collected the ball, he didn't hide. I mean, he didn't, there's certain things that Ozil's not going to be good at. He's not a great tackler. He's, as I quite often say, it's like playing with your 4-year-old nephew in the garden, playing with Ozil. You can, he's good when he's got the ball, but as a professional footballer, they just walk around him. He's like a kid. But I thought it was exceptional, really good. 2 points. That's who I'm going to give my 2 to. Tez, 1 point.
I was just look, Tierney. I haven't seen much of Tierney. Probably the last couple of games. I said to you boys last week. As Tony said, there's a couple of good crosses. There was one late where he was off balance and wrong-footed or something, and he still managed to get a nice ball in. And so I think he's a very good player. So 1 point for him.
Tony, you're 1.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just doing you, but one step later. I thought Ozil was again very close to Ceballos. Everything. I don't think he created anything, which is arguably what he's in it for. I didn't create enough, but he dictated the whole tempo of the game. As I said earlier, when we were struggling, he went deep to help them out. And I saw it last night. His pass completion was over 90%. And he just kept the ball ticking over. You never felt like, as I said early on, Guendouzi got the ball and you felt like he lost it a couple of times and you felt nervous every time he got it. Ozil dropped deep and we were just never worried. As soon as he dropped deep, I didn't think, we're going to get caught out here. I thought, we're going to keep the ball. It might not go anywhere, but we're going to keep it, and we're going to try and half dictate the tempo, which I think we did. It's just a shame that because he was coming deep, there was no one further up to create anything. Yeah,
agreed. I just finished this all off. My 1 point, I'm going to give it to Callum Chambers, who I thought was just involved in lots of good stuff. We keep giving it to him for effort, but he's just playing so much above his pay grade. He's outperforming how he should be playing, and I just think that we should recognise the fact that he's playing really, really well for his limited ability.
We're all different. I just want to clockandtalk.blogspot.com. I try and look who done the rating. Somebody did.
Liam did the ratings.
Liam, okay. His man of the match was Leno.
Okay.
On an 8, so he would have got the 3. And I'm just looking quickly. A couple of 7s: Tierney, Torreira, Guendouzi 5, Ceballos a 6, Ozil a 7, Lacazette a 6.5, Aubameyang a 6, Martinelli a 6, Saka a 5, Chambers a 6, Emery a 2. That just gives you a quick rundown of that. But you can read all these reasons why and whatnot at, like I said, clockandtalk.blogspot.com.
Okay, look, I mean, I think a lot of things that we're going to talk about in this podcast, we've sort of reviewed the game as such, but I think there's going to be a lot of talk about the manager and potential new managers and what we should do. But I think in the questions themselves, there's quite a lot about the manager, so maybe we should cover that in the questions. Is there anything else about the game that you want to bring up? Anything that I've missed out?
No, just go on to questions. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, so there's nothing glaring.
I was hoping you would.
Good, mate. Just go on to some questions.
Yeah, I was hoping you would, because now I've got to find them. Hang on. So yeah, there we go.
I've got a few extras that I got sent on WhatsApp. So do you want me to start with them?
Yeah, absolutely. You do that. Yeah.
Okay. So.
And I'm ready when you're finished.
So this is from Maddie. There's 2 questions. He starts off with a statement. He agrees Emery has to go soon. Do you think the Arsenal players have put their tools down like Chelsea and Man United players did? I'm assuming he means at the end of Mourinho's eras. Or is it simply Emery's system that is a problem?
Emery's system for me. I don't think a player turns up to a match and doesn't try. I know we type of seen it with Chelsea and that's what the conclusion come to, but I don't know. Do you realize are things that toxic at Arsenal where players go, fuck you, I'm not playing. Well, I don't know if it's at that point yet.
I don't think they're downing tools like the question suggests, but I do think that you mentioned the word toxic. It's not a very pleasant environment to play football in at the moment at the Emirates. And the first 10 minutes, there was a real nervousness about that team. I don't think they've given up, but they're certainly not enjoying their football at the moment.
I don't think they know what they're supposed to be doing. I really, like, as I said, when you start off with 2 strikers and a left winger but no right winger, and someone's meant to just get out there at some times, and players sort of just playing all over the place, it literally reminds me of like under-10s football, where they kind of all just follow the ball, and if someone could kick the ball hard enough to switch it, there'd be acre of space. I don't think they're down tools. I don't think they know what they're meant to be doing, and I think the reason Aubameyang's still getting goals is because he's so limited that he can only really play in the box. So even if he don't know what he's meant to be doing, he's still going to play in the box because that's all he can do. I think the limited players are the ones that will kind of be doing all right. But I think as a team, they just ain't got a clue. And for me, that system, as I said, I don't think they've down tools at all.
You got another question there, Tony, did you say?
Yeah, I guess we're going to get something similar to this a lot. Personally, Maddie doesn't want Mourinho. Can you help him to understand any positives if Mourinho is to get the job?
No.
I know I was going to say Darren says no.
And I had this conversation in the pub after the game. I've come around that it looks like when I said 3-4 weeks ago that I want to assess the situation at Christmas, I hadn't really changed my mind, and it's kind of interesting. I had a look. I remember when I said this that the next 10 games. Because I wrote it down when we did that podcast. These were our next 10 games: Sheffield United, Palace, Wolves, Leicester, Southampton, Norwich, Brighton, West Ham, Manchester City and Everton. And I sort of thought that is a run of 10 games that if they get it right, we will probably win 8 of those. Maybe I'm being a little bit positive, but generally think of those teams, United, Sheffield United, Palace, Wolves. If we're going to have any pretensions of top 4, then you'd probably think we would win 8 of those games. We're 3 games into that run, and we've got 2 points when we should have had 9. Sheffield United away, Palace and Wolves at home. So I'm jumping the gun now, and I'm thinking, I thought that at Christmas we might find ourselves in a very strong 3rd position because everyone else is fucking up. But 2 points out of 9 has brought the case forward, and I think the club will seriously now be looking to change the manager. So then the one that's available at the moment, and he's meant to be dining with the Arsenal team, is Jose Mourinho. I just want to remind everyone that he's a cunt. And
mate, he is, absolutely. But as I don't know if you've seen it, Darren. Bayern Munich, obviously, it's news now that their manager's sacked, and there's a list running around of potentials. Now, I looked at that list. I looked at that list this morning at the odds, and Jose, he's about 2nd on the list or something. I can't remember who the others were, but that list. I'm looking at that list and thinking, I don't know if any of them are potentials for Arsenal apart from Jose. And I hate to say it, but the list is a bit of a shambles of managers, and I think there's just not many good managers going around at the moment. Unless you're going to pinch somebody from somewhere and pay him an absolute monster, but then do Arsenal do that? So is the grass green on the other side? I think that's what I said in the WhatsApp group. So you said last week an Eddie Howe or a who else did you say? Somebody, a Burnley manager, or
Sean
someone
Dyche,
like that.
Yeah.
Sean Dyche, yeah. So at what are we going to be paying for them guys? Like, a Bournemouth going to go, oh, well, fuck, you want him, mate. You're going to pay. You're going to pay good too. Because there's no one around.
I think if you wanted somebody at that level, you could get them for tuppence halfpenny. There's no value in them. If you offer the Arsenal job to somebody like that, then I think they'll do whatever they can to leave their current position. There'd be some compensation, I'm sure, but it wouldn't, within the realms of.
I don't know if we're at that point though anymore. I think we've slipped down. I don't know if it was Manchester United, and even though they're not going real well at the moment, and there's rumours that they've been bought out and think, I don't even know if that's true or not, but I've read it, that there's rumours that they've been bought out and things. So they're on a bit of an up if that's the case, and any manager will be going, oh, fuck yeah, I'll have that job. But I don't know, at the moment, I don't know if Arsenal's at that, I just don't know if we're not in Champions League. a bit of a shit fight. Obviously, something's going on up above. I don't know whether Emery's got too much control or there's too many bosses and too many chiefs and not enough Indians. I don't know what the go is, but something's not right. And we have a pretty good team, but yet here we are struggling.
Tony?
Just to answer the questions, because he said, what would any positives for Mourinho be? And neither you've given any. For me, I think he would get an organised defence. He always creates a them versus us, which always gets everyone united. Not for long, but I said this last week. I would only appoint him on an 18-month or till the end of next season, and with Freddie involved as his number 2 or number 3. They would be my conditions for appointing him, but I would take him. And I think in them time, and I'd have a 1-year option on our side. So you could go into a 3rd year if necessary, or if he's doing really well.
Don't you think, though, this is a general point to our supporters? We went through that civil war at the club with Arsene Wenger, and it was a horrible time to be an Arsenal fan. Fights at ground between supporters. Some wanted him to stay, some wanted him to go, the disrespect for our manager. And now we've got another manager, Unai Emery, and again, there isn't so much support for him, but once again, we've got a crowd that's angry and not together behind the team. So would you appoint Jose Mourinho, who is, I'm sure, absolutely detested by at least half of the fan base?
You win your first 3 games, Osama bin Laden would be supported as Arsenal manager.
I don't agree. I cannot bring myself to want Jose Mourinho. The things that he said about our club and about our manager, I just don't want that horrible weasel of a man anywhere to do with a classy club like Arsenal Football Club. He is not the sort of player that we want.
Sometimes you need a cunt in amongst the pigeons to clean out the fucking shit. And he's the man for 2 years, 1 year, whatever, to clean out the fucking shit. And get these blokes. Mate, they're on big money. They're on fucking big money. Start performing. Start showing what you fucking can actually play football like. They're flip-flopping around the fucking joint. For fuck's sake.
Okay, look.
Mate, you need a real cunt in there to fucking sort it out.
Look,
he's probably that bloke.
Hitler got Germany going for 4 or 5 years. He was good for the country. He was still a cunt,
No, and I look, I'm not a Jose fan, but I think for 1 or 2 seasons, he's the bloke to set some rules, set some boundaries, and get this fucking team focused. What's our major weakness?
Well,
Unai Emery.
For me, it's defence. I was hoping you'd say defence.
Yeah, I know
where you were going,
Jose's strength.
Do you know, apart from his first incarnation as the manager of Porto, which he did exceptionally well, considering he was a translator turned coach, tell me when he's gone, and everyone talks about he's good for 2 years and then his 3rd year he goes a bit shit. But tell me a club he went to and didn't spend a fucking lot of money and calls a dressing room.
Inter and won the treble.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
How long ago is that now?
Oh, we can all change.
No, because the thing is, this is like Wenger, because this is the thing for me, he's like Wenger, is that, Wenger used to pick the best players in his early days because he was new. People didn't know how to play him. He had a real good insight into players all over European football. Mourinho in his very early days was like that. He was so unusual. He was a breath of fresh air. He was a great character. I loved him when he came to the Premier League. Loved him. When he was in his first time at the Premier League, I thought he was brilliant. As he's got found out, and then he's only gone to clubs and spent money, and what he calls is a dressing room bust up. He gets half the players on his side, he fucks the other half off, he spends a lot of money, and I don't see that there's been a lot of success with it. Look at the state of Manchester United now.
Oh, I don't know if that's his fault.
Well, he was the manager for the last 2.5 years. Whose fault was it?
How did he got him in the Champions League, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, he did.
He got him back into Champions League. Mate, I don't know if many other managers would have. And I'm just trying to think of the team that they had set up there. What was that, 2 years ago?
Yeah. What did he spend?
Yeah. I'm trying to think what he actually spent. I don't think... Pogba, he might have spent a few bucks on him.
Just a few, and Lukaku, just a few
just
on
a
him.
couple of bucks. Was it Lukaku that year as well, was it?
Well,
Lukaku was a year after.
Year after. But man, you got to mention the Champions League. We have a team. How much we spent on Pepe? Aubameyang, Lacazette, Tierney. Well, we have spent, and do we look like getting in the Champions League at the moment?
but the
Are we
argument
playing
isn't,
like a
the argument
Champions
isn't about
League
us spending money. We now want to put Mourinho in
No,
charge.
but you're comparing what Jose spent, and then we've got to compare what Emery spent in the last 2 years as well.
Okay, so we
So
don't want
you're
either
saying
of them running our
Jose's-
club.
You know, you can't say Jose spent them 2 years to get Manchester back in the Champions League. Emery's done the same and doesn't even look like that. That's all I'm trying to, you know. I don't know. I see exactly where you're coming from, mate. Don't get me wrong, I think, and a lot of fans are thinking the same. Fuck. But when you look at that list of who's available to manage the club, and there's quite a few fans Emery out, be careful what you wish for.
Did you see that Arseblog poll yesterday?
Yes.
There was like 40,000 votes, and 90% wanted him out immediately, and like 7% wanted him out in tomorrow. Like, it was
It was 88%
I haven't
I
seen
was
it.
91 when I voted.
when I saw it, yeah.
What's the alternative? Give me an alternative.
Okay, we can have the manager conversation then. So, are you both happy for Mourinho? Is that your first choice?
No, it's
I
not
think
my first choice.
he's not my first,
a
but
strong choice.
yeah.
Who's your first choice?
Oh, look, I said that young bloke, who's that guy from Monaco again?
Dim.
Yeah, I probably somebody along them lines. Probably my first choice.
I think look, my first two are probably not gettable in Nagelsmann and Ten Hag. They're probably not gettable. Of what's gettable, Allegri flirts with everyone in England because they pay better than Italy. I prefer Allegri to Mourinho, but then I think Allegri would want a 4-year deal and all the assurances that come with it, and I don't think Arsenal are likely to do that. I think Mourinho is favourite. He's not my first choice. As I said, there's 3 that I would have before him. 2 I don't think gettable, and 1 I don't think suits what we're trying to do, especially with Freddie.
Okay. So, Ted,
So my setup would be, well, obviously I don't think we're going to get the bloke from Monaco. He's not available. Like, let's face it. He's but then again, he loves a bit of cash, doesn't he? So to go back to Monaco after what they did to him, I thought, fuck it.
so
But
let's
anyway,
look at some of the other options then. I mean,
who was there?
Let me throw one at you. Why not take Brendan Rodgers?
He wouldn't leave.
Why?
He wouldn't
Do you know
leave
what?
at the moment.
He would leave. If I could get him on the phone now and offer him the job, he'd have left Leicester before I put the phone down. He's just left Celtic because he wants to get back. He wants to manage a proper big club. He was at Liverpool, came second. I'm not saying I'm a fan of him, by the way. I find him a bit of an idiot, but he's obviously an exceptionally good. He's an exceptionally gifted manager. He nearly did it with Liverpool. He gets sacked from there. He has to go and do his work elsewhere. He has to go up to Scotland in the backwaters, won everything he could up there, and then Leicester offer him a job. He's down within seconds. Do you think he would not want to manage another big club? With all respect to Leicester, they're very good at the moment. He's making them very good at the moment. But if he got the chance to do Arsenal now, just in case he missed out, I
think he's one. I think he's one that when you put it like that, he did jump the ship pretty quick from.
I don't think there's a chance in hell he would.
You don't think so?
He would rather manage Leicester City than Arsenal.
It's better what you know. They'll finish above us this season.
Yeah, no doubt. I've got no doubt because he's managing them. But he is a man who wants to manage.
They'll fund him to whatever tune he wants. Not City and Liverpool levels, but if he gets them back in the Champions League, which if you finish above us, you probably should do with the state of the table at the moment, then they'll fund him however he wants. He's got complete control. There's no media spotlight on him, which is truly what fucked him at Liverpool. I just think we're kind of a recipe for disaster when he's got things on easy street. And yeah, he's built that up. I'm not taking anything away from him. It's all credit to him. But I think leaving them to anyone would be a car crash waiting to happen for him.
So
Arsenal's got to be one of the hardest clubs to manage, I think, especially with Liverpool's probably up there as well. When things are going good, things are going good, but fuck me when things are going bad. Just fans turn on you. They turn on you quick, and they turn, like, have a look at that thing with Aubameyang, some clown in the fucking abusing Aubameyang. I thought, what a piece of shit you are. Someone said, I don't even know if they're fans, but, like, I don't know why a manager would want to come to Arsenal. I fucking wouldn't.
It's a fair point,
Fans like that, fans like this, fuck me.
This is my point on Xhaka, why are players going to want to go and play at this toxic club that we're managing? And then put Mourinho in charge, for fuck's sake.
But this is what I mean. Mourinho always creates us against them. And when you're in that us, like, believe me, I know Chelsea fans and United fans, when you're in that us, you're so drawn into that bubble, and it creates a siege mentality. And I think our club needs that at the moment. If he can get the fans on side, even if everyone else hates us, because we feel like everyone hates us anyway, whether they do or not. We feel like the FA hates us and gives us decision. We feel like the media hates us. We feel like Twitter hates us. So if he can give that us against them and real backs to the wall strong, we're really united, I kind of think that's what we need. I would have absolutely no complaints if he was given the job. Look, I don't want him going and signing a 5-year contract, but I see so many positives.
1 or 2 years, I think. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Who else you got, Darren? Who else you got that?
This is
Moyes?
I just would rather take a punt on somebody else, the Wolves manager, the Bournemouth manager, even the Sheffield United manager. Honestly, I'd rather take a punt on somebody new.
So somebody in the Premier League, you don't want to venture out to
I just think there's a lot of young managers about, and Arsenal's a big job, and I like the fellow who's running.
Huge job.
I like the fellow who's running Brighton at the moment. Just got different ideas. Someone who looks to me, Graham Potter, who looks like Mourinho of 15 years ago. Somebody who takes things slightly differently, who treats the player slightly differently to everybody else. I just would like to try something else and go back on the merry-go-round. I had this argument in the pub after the game when somebody said we should have Ancelotti or Mourinho. We might as well get fucking Wenger back. How about that? That was a consideration. Why don't we get Wenger back as a caretaker until the end of the season?
Yesterday?
Sorry?
Aaron, did you see the banner yesterday?
No.
So it's the Wenger out one with out crossed out and in written underneath it.
There you go. Do you know what? I saw it, that list that you talked about for the Bayern Munich job. I saw Arsene Wenger's on that list, Suddenly,
he's
suddenly if Arsene Wenger was, he's now touted to be our next manager, we'd fucking probably take him, wouldn't we? Wouldn't we take him?
I don't know. Look, the only problem is with them young guys that you're talking about. And I agree that, that there is some very good managers in the Premier League and, your Brighton managers and what. My biggest thing is I come back to who wants to manage Arsenal. The joint's toxic. These young, inexperienced managers would shit their fucking pants and run. Like, they're out of the spotlight at Brighton. They're just cruising. How's that bloke who's a Southampton manager? How's he still got a fucking job?
Yeah.
Like, if it was Arsenal losing 8-0, mate, the fans would be hanging him. So that's the only problem with them younger boys. I just think they might need to step up to an Everton or something, see how they take the pressure first.
Yeah, maybe so, but it's just personal. I just don't want to go around the merry-go-round of these. I just think Mourinho looks stale. He looks like Wenger. He's been found out a bit. People know how to play his teams, and we're fed up. There's a good question coming up. We'll save it because there was a question about George Graham. Have you got any other questions there, Tony, or should I get on with the ones that we've got here?
Yeah, sorry, there's one more. I've just closed it. So this is from Soccer Diva. It wasn't actually asked to us. I think she tweeted it generally and someone's copied and pasted it. I'm just going to read it. What if we could get a new manager? Who would it be? We need a plan. We need a vision. We need to know where we are going and what our priorities are. We need to get AFC back. Time for Raul to grow a sack. Where is the voice? Where is the leadership? Such poor PR.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean,
we've
we've
touched on
covered
that.
most of that, but obviously someone's taken the time to send it to us. So
And, you know, that could be any of us talking, really, couldn't it? All right, let's get on to the questions that we've had posted this week on clockend_talk. This is from Gunnar J. Ozil finally gets a start and we play Torreira at number 10. Emery basically confirming in his press conference that we are playing exactly how he wants us to. How is anyone justifying giving him time after that comment?
you're best to answer this because I think you're the only one that was ever advocating giving him time.
Do you know, I will just say on Torreira, I like Torreira. I like energy and I like everything. You know, I just like seeing him in the side. And I hear all this shit that he should be a defensive midfielder. He weren't very good at defensive midfield. He's 5'4". I don't think it's a position that, I mean, he can play there, but I quite like the way he's playing at the moment as a box to box. He's been in both areas. He made good tackles yesterday. He gets input at the other end. I don't see the issue with him, with Emery trying to change the way that Torreira plays. I think he's improving him. Anyway, I know I'm on my own in that one. This is also from Gunnar J. Also, before we say fifth in the table, we are actually closer to the bottom than the top points-wise.
I was going to earlier when
What
you
are we on? Fifth.
No, we are fifth. I was going to say this to you earlier. You said something and you was like, I always said that, because you always just go, oh, we're only fifth. And when you had a little bit of a moan earlier, I was going to say that, but I knew someone else had said it. So I thought I didn't want to steal their thunder.
Yeah.
Well, has anyone got a table up?
Well, we are fifth.
Yeah, we are.
No, I was wondering on points.
We're 6 points off fourth, about 300 points off top, and about 12
Okay.
bottom.
Yeah, I haven't looked the last week or two.
I was actually surprised we were still fifth, to be honest. I haven't really looked at it. I knew we were 6 points off Leicester and Chelsea, but I didn't know where we was. And I was surprised when I looked. I think it came up on Match of the Day last night, and I was surprised we were still fifth.
Okay.
So the relegation zone is 8 points, which is Southampton, and we're on 17. So we're 9 points ahead of them, and
Okay.
and we're 14 points off top.
Yeah. Now I get the question. Shit.
Okay, this is from Vishad. Wouldn't playing Chambers as the central defensive midfielder and Bellerin as right back, with Ainsley Maitland-Niles as the stand-in, be the more logical line-up for our team? Chambers can hold the ball up, which Xhaka can't. He's much more mobile.
I don't get this.
He's much more mobile to track back. His range of passing is not as great as Xhaka, but he is proactive.
I don't. Stick to fucking your manager game or something. I don't know what you're on about. Like, that just makes zero sense to me.
I see the argument, because Chambers obviously got Fulham's Player of the Year playing there, but we know he doesn't play Torreira there, not for any of the reasons Darren mentioned, which are all valid reasons. I don't agree with them, but they're valid reasons. But the reason he doesn't play Torreira there is he doesn't trust him with the ball. So Chambers isn't better with the ball than Torreira is, and he's certainly not in the league of Xhaka. Although I'm not sure if we're allowed to ever say anything Xhaka does is good.
I'm not game doom, right?
But if he doesn't trust Torreira there, he's not then going to play someone worse with the ball. So it's just a non-starter, really. As I said, I get
Chambers have. Yeah, but if Chambers has a shit game, all of a sudden Chambers is getting hung out to dry.
No, he's never do it.
He's playing well.
He would never do it because he won't trust him with the ball. It's imagine like trying to play out from the back and the guy taking all the pressure is Chambers. We saw, look, let's be honest, everyone raised about Guendouzi. Everyone raised about Guendouzi. He crumbled yesterday when he had to do that role until someone came in and helped him. The issue Xhaka's had is no fuckers coming to help him because Ozil hasn't been in the team. I'm not saying Xhaka's perfect when Ozil's in the team, but he looks a damn sight better because he's got someone there going, I'm an option, give me the ball, rather than everyone else just looking at him going, oh, go on and do something.
Yeah, use the ball.
Let's not kid ourselves on Guendouzi. He absolutely crumbled in that role yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. He didn't have a good game.
Let's move on. This is from Cosmin Buta. Are there any downsides of sacking Emery pre-Leicester? Or would it do any good to keep him for the Leicester game?
It's less than next week, is it?
Yeah,
Yes.
so, we've got the Europa League game midweek. For me, I think we lose that game regardless, as negative as it sounds. And then I think our 3 games after the international break are quite easy. So if you bring someone in new now, they go and lose their first game and then they've got 2 weeks off, it looks and feels a bit shit. If he loses that, which as I said, I feel like we're going to do anyway, you get rid of him, you bring someone new in, they've got 2 weeks with
Southampton, Norwich, Brighton.
and then Southampton, Norwich, Brighton, 2 of which are at home, only Norwich away. That's as good a start as you can ask for if you're coming in mid-season, I think. And for me, this is why, again, was it last week or 2 weeks ago that I said I thought Emery would go in November? And I remember looking on the group chat after that podcast and everyone else was like, oh, that's too early. And now people, I'm not saying he will, I don't know, but now people are sort of coming around to that idea. And that was the exact reason I done it. I looked ahead to the fixtures and I thought, timing-wise, if I was a new manager, when would I want to come in? And I think that's the perfect chance for someone.
I actually think it might happen now as well. I think
I generally believed it when I said it, and I'm more in belief now than I was then.
I think.
Do you think the pressure is on him that much from Arsenal upstairs, though? Or are you just getting the feeling from fans? Because if we're getting feelings from fans, well, and he could have fucking Wenger wouldn't have stayed for so long. Are we actually? Yeah,
I think it's just being incompetent to keep him. I think it's just being incompetent. I believe they're good at their jobs and they know football. And I think the way with the fan base is, not that you can judge everything by that, but the way we're playing, the style, the lack of results, everything. There's not a single thing you can point to and go, that's a reason to keep him. And the list of reasons to get rid of him.
I agree with you. I agree.
I've just got to trust their competence in their job.
Yeah, okay.
Like if they're any good at their job, which we're led to believe they're world leaders and we were lucky to get them, then I can't see a single reason where they're going, that's why we should keep him.
Well, I think the single reason, and look, I'm not even playing devil's advocate here, but I agree with everything you said there. They've come into the club, they had a really good summer, their profile's really good. Everyone's really happy with the management at the moment, but the single problem is the candidate that's not, there's not that star candidate that's available. I do think they'll be looking, but we're talking about it. What are we talking about? Freddie, inexperienced. Mourinho's a cunt. Allegri's too expensive.
But you say that, but I don't know if the board would be thinking that. They'd be looking at Jose, mate. They'd be looking at his record and going, he's the best candidate. Mate, just because you think he's a cunt, I think he's a cunt too.
Let's also not forget that it was Mendes that essentially got Pepe for us. Obviously, it was our money, but the whole deal was brokered by Jorge Mendes, who is Mourinho's agent, and it would also lead to him helping us more in future. And as sick as it is in modern football, if you don't have the help of these super agents, you're really struggling. I said this to someone
the more and more
the other day, and I was like, we're just gonna be the Wolves, but one step ahead, because he basically feeds players into them, but we would be the tier ahead. So anyone better, or we would have the first choice as them. And I think that's another kind of tick in the Mourinho box, and it shouldn't be. I don't agree with the way it is, but I realise that is how things go in at the moment.
Okay.
The more I think about it, I think he's leading the pack. Wasn't he at a couple of games as well the other week?
He was at the Victoria game. There was a picture, and then people were saying he was with Raul. He wasn't, but he was there. He might have just got a ticket off the ticket exchange. Who knows? He wasn't in the director's box. But,
sorry, continue on, mate.
Okay,
you love him, mate. You'll love him as soon as he comes in and wins a couple of trophies. I bet you'll be fucking front and centre celebrating.
Here's another one from Halls of Marble. If Mourinho comes in and we play boring football, does it matter? The George Graham era was largely dull and is as much a part of our DNA as Wenger's sexy football.
I've taken the George Graham bit out of this. I said this, was it last week, 2 weeks ago, if we won 38 games 1-0, I'd be delighted. So I don't think that, George Graham wasn't always as boring as it's painted out to be from what I know and am told. Obviously did he get sacked in 93?
Yes.
So I was 4. So I'm not going to pretend I went to every game in George Graham and I remember it dearly, but from what I'm told, it wasn't as boring or as bad as people say. Darren obviously know better. But yeah, 38 1-0 is couldn't give a shit. Like, I'll be happy with that.
I think the context with Graham, I think it's a really good question from Halls of Marble. There's a little bit of context because George Graham, it was the people before George Graham that were the problem. And maybe imagine if you had Unai Emery for 8 years. And I'm being serious now. We had Terry Neill and then Don Howe for about 7 or 8 years before George Graham took over. And I can honestly say I've been going to the games pretty much since the mid-70s, so that's a lot of football I've watched. The Terry Neill and the Don Howe years, when I was watching the club home and away, were the worst by a street. They make Unai Emery look like Pep Guardiola. I mean that. It was terrible. The crowd was, the ground was half empty. The football was disgraceful. We didn't have any star players. It was terrible. And also add to that football was terrible then. There was a lot of violence. It was a lot of racism. It was not a pleasant time to watch football. George Graham came in and was a disciplinarian who got us playing to a style, to a system. And he does get slagged off for being boring. And actually, no, we once we went 1-0 up, we just didn't ever think we were going to concede. And that was, where you get your 1-0 from the Arsenal. But he also got some really good. He liked a winger. I'm trying to think who they were. Limpar was a good one. There was another Brian Marwood, good winger. So he liked that, and he liked a good centre forward. Alan Smith scored loads of goals because that's how we played, and there was a style. So there was a context. So when George Graham came into the club, it had been so bad before, so bad. Imagine Emery for 8 years. So bad, didn't win anything. We won one FA Cup, I think, in '79 was probably the only thing we won in that period. And so George Graham gave us a mentality and we won. And it was so much fun. Wenger's knocked all that out of the park because now, as fans, we want to win with some style. Because even when we were on that 22-game unbeaten run last year, we knew we weren't playing very well, but we got results. But everyone still thought Emery was a cunt, So I just think that Mourinho, it's not even the brand of football, it's the brand of man I don't want at the club. Anyway, sorry, long story there on George Graham, but I think it was a very good question, and I just don't want Mourinho anywhere near our classy football club. MAA Guna, what was the atmosphere like before, during and after the game? I heard that there was a fight between a steward and a fan. How true is this? I'm sure there's fights every week between stewards and fans.
I think that's very, very unlikely there's actual fight. There was probably arguments. I didn't see anything. There was just normal murmurs. The atmosphere was shit yesterday.
Yeah.
You can argue the fans not getting it up for the players or the players not giving the fans anything to go with. The atmosphere was shit. The ground was half empty. Again, I'm struggling to find reasons for it. I said this last week. It's a 3:00 kickoff. People moan around enough of them. One comes round. It wasn't particularly cold. It wasn't raining at kickoff. It pissed down during play, but at kickoff it wasn't raining. Still no one there. It's just I don't know what people want anymore. But yeah, an actual physical fight, I very much doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's always trouble because there's where I sit in the ground. There's people want to stand up and people want to sit down. So the stewards are in and out throughout the game arguing with people, and sometimes it gets a little bit strong and people get taken out. This is from MAA as well. Has everyone forgotten about Luis Enrique? Still a top manager in my opinion. Barcelona have suffered since sacking him. Where would you put him in the shortlist?
Well, for starters, he's not a top manager because, look, when he was at Roma, I don't think he did really good at all. He was at Barcelona, and let's face it, that Barcelona team were a very, very good team. And I think Montoni have mentioned before that I think we could have managed them and probably won a few trophies. So, where do you rate him? Where do you put him? Failed at Roma, went to Barcelona, succeeded with a very, very, very good team.
Life comes before football. His daughter died of cancer not long ago. He's not going to want to upend his family and move them abroad.
No.
I don't think football even...
I forgot about that.
Like, sorry, whether I rate him as a manager is absolutely nothing to do with it. Like, just, you don't... Especially, I'm assuming his family probably don't speak English. The English press are absolute arseholes. Our fans aren't the best.
There's another one from MAA. is it bad, this is MAA, not me, is it bad that I want us to lose if it means that Emery would be sacked? Yes, it is. That was me.
Well, I'd like to know what he's who's the next bloke in charge for him. Like, who's he thinking? Like, Emery gets sacked tomorrow, next week, in 2 weeks, whatever it is. Who's the guy that MAA Gunner's going to put
He
him
wants
in?
Luis Enrique.
Okay.
That was his...
yeah, that was him too.
Let's have a look. There's another one from MAA, but we've covered that. This is from Kernos. Sounds trivial, but even during Wenger's worst period, I liked listening to his press conferences. Now I don't bother. Emery hardly answers the questions properly. I'm genuinely confused half the time.
I said last week that he doesn't even come across as likeable, and most people disagree with me on this, but I listen to him and I just think you spend 10 minutes and you don't ever say anything. Some of the stuff he says, and maybe it's a translation issue, or he doesn't quite know how to articulate himself in English, but I just think it comes across as arrogant, just dismissive of the fans. I think almost taking the piss out of fans at times, like when he says after the Palace game, well, we lost last year, so we've improved. I just find him really unlikable, and I know I'm in the minority there, but obviously that's my response to that question.
Yeah, you've just got to picture him as the Count off of Sesame Street. I've said this before. If you look at a picture,
well, you're one letter out.
Google. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Google the Count at Sesame Street. Have a look at him and tell me that's not Unai Emery. And you picture him going, "I'm the Count." Sorry.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Take away the O, and you're off. You're there.
I mean, look, I can't disagree. He doesn't. English isn't his first language, and I think that's a big issue. But I'd rather he used a translator than talk the way he talks at the moment. Before this podcast, I always watch the highlights of the last game, and I always watch his press conference. Well, I watched the highlights of the game, and then I couldn't be arsed watching his press conference because it just irritates me.
Didn't he say it went perfectly tactically?
Don't know. Didn't listen to it.
Oh yeah, he said.
I can't understand him.
I mean, we can understand you, so I'm going to dismiss that point. But
he's an interesting one.
He said the result didn't go as planned, but tactically it was perfect.
Fuck my. Well,
this is.
Why would you listen to that?
Another one from MAA, which is kind of interesting. Did we miss Xhaka? Does that mean that Xhaka's getting better now that he's not playing?
I was glad he didn't start due to the circumstances. Like, let's face it, like, I don't know if you throw eggs or fucking fire, whatever, throw grenades or something at him. So, in that respect, it was just a piss poor form. Like, if that statement that he released during the week, if that's what fans have come out with, and I've said it previously on this podcast, give yourself an uppercut. Fuck off. Hand your fucking jersey in, hand your fucking ticket in, because you're a scumbag, low-life cunt, in my opinion. And I just, it doesn't matter what type of player he is or how bad he does perform on the day, to wish one of his children cancer is a fucking very, very low form.
There's some sick people out there.
Very, very, very. Yeah. Did in answer to the question, did we miss him? I think probably yes. Had we changed that lineup, I said Pepe in for, who did I say? Pepe for Ceballos.
Ceballos, who scored 5 points in our 3-2-1.
If Granite was available, I'd imagine Ozil wouldn't have started.
Well, I think Torreira probably.
Oh, Torreira, yeah, maybe, yeah. Give more options, I suppose, but hard one.
Here's a question from the Red Custodian. Can I also say how fantastic it was to hear Tezza back on the last pod? And thanks as always for taking the time to answer our questions, even though Darren doesn't usually like mine. I wonder how I will fare today. So welcome back, Tezza.
It's good to be back.
The Red Custodians.
I'm glad people are listening.
His question was, a Champions... Oh, this is rubbish. No, I'm only making it up, Red Custodian. I haven't even read it yet. A Champions League squad playing championship football. Emery is the coach, not the manager. After rightfully earning praise for their summer business, do you feel that Raul and or Edu should now be judged on how or if they act now? With whom does the responsibility rest? So that's a good question. You know, we had a good summer. We suddenly really liked Raul. We've signed Edu in a technical position. We like the signings, and we like the fact that we've got rid of a lot of dead wood. And now we've got a manager that's not performing. You know, is it their job now to sack him? Is it going to damage their reputation if they don't act now, Tony?
Well, yes, because if the club doesn't achieve its aims, which it really doesn't look like we're going to do under Emery, it falls on everyone. I think the thing is, in football, and especially higher up, the saying, you're only as good as your last result, or the king is dead, long live the king. Like, oh yeah, you had a great summer, but what have you done for us lately? And that's what it'll be like. The longer it goes, the longer Emery carries on, especially if results don't turn around, the further away summer gets, and the more you're looking at, well, why aren't they doing something now? What are you doing for me lately? And that's it. Their job is now changed. The summer window was a window. They passed that. Tick. Well done. Next stage. And it could be you could go through that stage with doing absolutely nothing. But at the moment, it looks like there's a few contracts that are running low. They've already broken we're not letting anyone go into the last 2 years. There's already multiple players in the last 2 years. We're not getting results, so it looks like we need a change on the pitch. We know our aim was to get Champions League football. At the moment, we don't look like we're going to get that if you had to put money on it now. So they completed their summer roles. Now they're in new roles. And as of this moment, it's the time to act. They've not done anything yet. And I think had they done it, it probably would have been a little bit too early. But as of now to the end of November, I think they're on their next set of objectives.
Anything to add, Tez?
Sorry, lads, I totally missed the question.
No, in which case,
off
no.
For a minute, so yeah.
No, you're fine. I agree, Tony, with everything you said. I think it's a good question from the Red Custodian.
You're only literally sucking up to him because he said you don't usually like.
No, well, I'm being ironic, but it is. It's a good talking point. It is down to them now, isn't it? I don't know what rubbish he's been sending in normally, but there's more coming from him. I will have my time.
The irony of him saying it's great to have Tez back and then Tez doesn't listen to his question.
Yeah.
I love the questions, but guys, it's 35 degrees here at the moment, and I'm sucking on a super-duper icy pole trying to keep cool under a barley hut.
The world's smallest violin is playing the world's smallest. It's midnight and about 1 degree.
Yeah.
Come on. I've got a broken heart. Be nice.
Which will be the same condition as mine if we sign Mourinho. This one is from Sandeep. Says on the Emirates, the Emirates looked a bit empty. Was that the case? And if so, why would that be? Tony's just covered that. Yeah, it didn't feel too empty from where I am, but
do you know what I always say, and you won't notice it? When you're on my side and you look across and you can see the cannon,
I guess
bad sign. And you could, and I think Charles Watts, who's the Goals Arsenal correspondent and actually quite a good journalist, he tweeted a picture. Maybe I think it was 10 minutes into the game, and you could see like seats of white dotted about, and he commented on how bad the attendance was.
Yeah, I guess you're right. From my side, your side is always pretty full. This is also from Sandeep. 2 wins in 9 league games. How has he still got his job? I think that's just a statement. Another one from the Red Custodian. Rumours say.
Can I just cut in, Darren? Can I just cut in quickly, mate?
Course.
I've got to do the bolt, boys, because I've just a couple of things I've got to look after here. Look, it's been a pleasure once again to come on the podcast. I just wanted to make a quick mention before I do go, Tony. The guys at UREF, is it UREF?
Yeah.
Yeah, UREF. So we've joined with them guys. Partnership with them guys, giving them a bit of a promo as well. They're giving us a bit of detail about referees and stuff. So download the app. It's actually a pretty good app. I downloaded it and signed up, and gives you a bit of insight on referees and stats and different things. So it's quite interesting. Give it a crack. Boys, thank you again. But, yeah, I'll catch up with you next week.
No worries.
So, Tony, it's 35 degrees. He makes us fucking work till midnight, and then he fucks off.
I'm not even getting paid.
All right, lads, catch us.
All right, cheers, Tez. Well, we're nearly done anyway. This is from the Red Custodian. Again, rumours say that the club are looking at Mourinho to replace Emery. If this happens, would this make things better or be just a different type of bad?
I think we're going to be on opposite ends of this answer. I know you dislike him. Do you not think we'd get better under him?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do? Okay, I wasn't probing. That was just...
No, I think he's better than what we've currently got. But I dislike him intensely.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think everyone's got very short memories. He was a horrible, horrible, horrible individual.
I don't like him. I don't like him at all. I'm like, of all the stuff I've been saying that I would take him, it's not through like. I think he's a good manager. I dislike the guy, but as I said before, he is a cunt. But when someone's your cunt, it's somehow acceptable.
No, I just can't see it. I just don't want to go and watch Arsenal under Mourinho. Anyway, let's hope he gets the Bayern Munich job. MAA, Emery is the lord of frauds. Don't want Mourinho because he's just rotten and stale. If the others weren't so shit, we'd be where... Sure. I reckon he has Manchester United games on the USB, which is why we're so shit. Didn't really understand that, MAA. Sandeep, what position was Torreira playing? It looked like he was playing where Mesut Ozil was playing. When was the last time you saw a top team have a central attacking midfielder who pressed the ball and didn't create chances? Why play as a CDM? Why play a CDM as a CAM?
It's to me, it's more. It's that he plays on the right. Like it's like they give him such a big space on the pitch, and go, well, yeah, that's your area. Like it's not. He doesn't play as a 10. I know that's the thing that's going round, but he doesn't. He does play way too high for my liking. But then it's like he's basically given the right side of the pitch. And usually we have a right winger. Obviously we didn't yesterday. But usually it's sort of like, well, Pepe will look after the last 20 yards of the right. Whoever the right back is will look after the 20 yards of the right at the back. And then you've got the 60 or 70 yards in between. Crack on. And for me, I just think you're kidding anyone. No one's got the energy to do that. I think Ramsey might have done it once or twice, but Ramsey probably had the best engine in the league, and even he can do it every week. It's just, I know you don't mind it. For me, it's just baffling. I just think they're trying to get him to do too many people's jobs, and it worked once or twice. I think it worked really well against Chelsea in the league and against Napoli at home, but that was more their strongest players on that side, Mertens and Insigne and Hazard, and it was more like doubling up on them and then getting forward as well when we turned the ball over. But to do it every week, I really don't get the logic in it.
Yeah, I do see. Don't you think he's got a good eye for goal, though? You know, he's got a good eye for getting between the lines. You know, he does seem to just burst into the right positions at times. Not saying he's the best finisher, but he certainly he does seem to get involved at the top end of the pitch. You know, I
don't know how much of that is because it's sort of like, what are you doing here? Like, no one just did it. Like, what? Why is he there? You see that sometimes where a centre-back stays up from a corner or something and they're just in acres because everyone's like, you ain't supposed to be here. Like, okay.
Yeah, maybe so.
I think even us, like yesterday, the chance he missed, and no criticism of him, it was a good save, but he was at the back post, actually more central. He was about on the penalty spot and Aubameyang was further out than him.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, even us as Arsenal fans, like, how have you got there? Like, what? Why? What? How? Like... Just I don't understand.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the things I say. I've kind of liked watching him play. He seems to have been given this different role to play as a box to box, and I think he's quite good at it.
I think for me, his strength is winning the ball back, and we're seeing, not again through no fault of his own, we're not seeing that. I don't think we've got. I think most of the problem is if we had someone that could win the ball back, no one would care that he's playing where he is. The fact that we've got absolutely no one that can do it, and we know he can, but isn't being played in a position to do so, is what's winding people up. Okay. I think that's the truth of it, is that if we had they don't have to be anyone good, but if we had someone that could nick the ball back and then give it to someone else, I don't think anyone would be complaining about where Torreira's playing, to be honest.
No. Well, I think we're pretty much done. There's one from Hakon Larsson who talks also about Mourinho. He says, regarding Mourinho, is the reason why things turn out the way they have with him because he goes to clubs that have to perform right now. I think he would do well with a team that don't have the expectation to win everything right away.
So
I would take him. That's insane, by the way.
I've a little bit of insight. So my family and Joe Cole's family are very well connected. My brother's got kids with Joe's cousin. My dad used to own a business with Joe's dad. I know Joe quite well. I've got signed England shirts from him, blah, blah, blah. He said the problem at Chelsea was that Mourinho created this siege mentality and you'd run through walls for him to win anything. They didn't particularly like him, but you would do absolutely whatever he said because it sort of half guaranteed success. He said the problem was when you got success, are you still going to run through walls with the person for what? You can't, like, you know what I mean? I don't particularly like you. You're bossing me about, and I've already achieved my aim. And that might be a bad way to be professionally, but it seems like whole squads do it time and time again. So it really must be a complete cunt.
Yeah.
But they do it for that year and a half, 2 years. And again, this is why I was saying I'd give him 2 years or a year and a half now with an option. But I mean, I've heard it. Well, the story's gone around from other people that, and I've obviously heard it from Joe that it is just you don't like him, but you do what he says, and you'll have great success. But once you've got that success, are you still going to be doing stuff that you really don't want to do?
Yeah. Well, it just frightens the life out of me that in the space of a week, I don't think we mentioned Mourinho last week, and now 55-60% of the questions are all about Mourinho being our next manager.
I think he just looks like the obvious candidate. Like, do you know what I mean? He's available. He's been flirting with us. There's obviously been stories basically written by him. If it comes from Duncan Castles, it's Mourinho. So whether, and he's obviously saying he's had meals with us, whether that's true or not, or he's fed it in there to put his name in the Arsenal conversation, I guess we'll never know. I know Raul or Arsenal, the club, have come out and said it's not true, but that doesn't mean it's not true. But he's played a very clever game. As I said, if you look back at the time at Man United, anything from Duncan Castles has come from Mourinho. It's as clear as anything. It's got to the point it's almost parody because they might as well just get Mourinho out to say it.
Mm. Well, that's it. That's the questions. There is one more from Vishad about he says that Emery's something like a big floppy cock, but I think it's like a 14-year-old's question, so I'm going to ignore that one. Anything else you want to bring up, Tone? We done or?
No, you're off to Portugal. What sort of team are you expecting? I still think Xhaka plays, by the way.
Yeah, I think Xhaka probably will be captain. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, a bit like you, I haven't been to as many away games lately, so it's been. I'm really excited about the whole thing. You know, I'm excited about the trip. 3 or 4 days in Portugal is going to be nicer than sitting here in the freezing cold weather. I'm looking forward to the team he's going to put out because, you know, we're going to see. I'm sure we're going to see Saka. We're going to see. I think we might even see, now that we've won that group pretty much, we might see John Jules if he's fit. I think we're going to see Willock. We're going to see Holding and Mustafi. Kolasniak's going to play, isn't he? I think it's going to be pretty much the same team that we played against Liverpool, isn't it?
I don't think Ozil travels. I think Smith Rowe comes in. Nelson played under 23s the other day, so I'd imagine he comes.
Okay, I thought he was still injured. Is Nelson back?
So both. But at the moment, we have got 0 injuries for the first time in ever, I think. Nelson and Smith Rowe both played under 23s on Friday, I think it was. Whether they're not fit enough to go to a game like that, I don't know. But yeah, they both played. So I'd imagine quite similar to Liverpool, probably Ozil out. Probably one of Pepe and Lacazette out of the squad. And as I said, if Smith Rowe and Nelson are fit to come in, it'll be interesting with Pepe actually, because obviously he didn't play Wednesday, didn't play this weekend. Does he take him?
I think it's because we're playing. You know, I think Vitoria's just outside of Porto.
Well, have you booked the right one?
Yeah, let's hope so. It's the one that's further north. I know I nearly went to the wrong one, but it's a really easy trip, isn't it? I mean, not for me. I'm flying into Seville and then driving for 7 hours, but it's a really easy trip for the club. You know, to charter a plane that will take them an hour's trip to Porto, pretty much an hour and a half.
Well, it's also a 3:30 kickoff, isn't it? So they'll be home by 8.
Yeah, so it's a nice one. They can all afford to go and have a bit of team bonding. He could take the whole squad out there, couldn't he? Really, it's going to be a bit nicer to train there than it's going to be to train in England. But I've got a good football weekend because I say I'm flying into Seville because at the weekend I'm going to the Seville Betis derby, which I've got to say after all the shit that we've had watching Arsenal in the last few weeks, I'm really looking forward to going to watch that. It's meant to be one of the top derbies in Spain.
And got to be better than watching us against Leicester.
Yeah, well, when are we playing Leicester? Is that the Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday 5:30.
All right, that's good. So I'm with 8 mates, 3 Tottenham, 3 West Ham, 1 Chelsea, and me. So it's going to be a good day's football.
That's what my mates that I go to most away games with. He's booking a hotel. We're going out in Leicester on Saturday night, and he said to me the other day, "Okay, so I've booked the hotel. I'm going to book a curry." And I was like, "What? Sack off the football?" And he was like, "Yeah, why not?" Like,
yeah, why not?
Go for a curry, go on a night out, get to the hotel. There might be a football game or something.
I mean, on a serious note, we've talked. Both of us we're not very confident going into the Leicester game. I mean, that's fair, isn't it? I think we both think we're in trouble. And that then takes us into an international break, which is when we're thinking that the manager might lose his job. Is that fair?
Yeah.
What happens if we go and beat Leicester?
For me, it doesn't change anything.
No, okay.
But I guess for some it would. I just think one good result doesn't make up for, 2 wins in 9. The same way, if we'd won 9 in a row and we lose 1, you don't call for his head. I think it's the same in reverse. Yeah, it just thinks that if we win that one and then we go into those 3 games that we said, Southampton, Norwich, Brighton, West Ham, we could end up, very strong 3rd place and all of the talk goes away. Yeah, it's just I was listening to the radio earlier and they were talking about Ancelotti when he left Bayern, and they said to him, "You've got 2 games to save your job," and he said, "Look, I'll go now because when we're at that point, what does it happen? Do I lose 1 now and then win 10 in a row and lose another one? Like, do you know what I mean? If you've got them worries about me, 2 games ain't really going to change anything."
Yeah,
and I see that's exactly how I see both games this week. I mean, I'm not really counting Wednesday as I don't ever. But I see him if they're thinking to get rid of him. I don't see a one-off game making the blind bit of difference, to be honest.
And I think the other thing that you've got to take into consideration this year is both Spurs and Manchester United's results have been horrendous. I mean, really horrendous.
It seems like we're shit and they can't catch up with us.
Yeah.
We drew last week and they both lost, or United won. But then this week, United lost when we drew. Tottenham drew.
Yeah.
Oh, did you watch the Tottenham game today?
No, I didn't know.
Have you not seen the tackle then?
I've seen it, yeah, of course. I've seen the pictures. But
is it the red card?
I haven't seen it live. I've only seen the pictures of the injury, so I've only seen still images. But so I don't know if it was a justified red or not. I don't, from what I'm hearing, I don't think it was.
I didn't, but a lot of people argued with me, so I just thought I'd get your opinion. But,
no, I haven't seen. I've only seen the things. I can't bring myself to watch Tottenham. I never enjoy watching them.
Someone else said that in the group chat earlier. I mean, it's that or watch the Great British Bake Off or some nonsense. So I watch them and hope to lose.
Right, yeah, definitely the Bake Off for me over Tottenham. Okay, well, look, let's call it a night. We've done our usual too long, and I don't know if I'll be on next week because I'm in the Seville games Sunday night, so I don't get back from Seville till Monday evening. So I guess,
and then I fly to Spain on the Monday, so I can only do Sunday. So
yeah, so
one of us will be and one of us won't.
Yeah, maybe Schwinn. Schwinn, do you remember that kid Schwinn used to be on the podcast?
I think he went to a game once but didn't turn up on time.
Well, nice talking to you, Tone, and let's just hope that we have some positive news this week.
What new manager?
Well, I say I don't think we should worry too much because when the only option is Mourinho, I think I'd rather stick with Emery. But that's how bad things are. Anyway, let's call it a day, and we will catch up with everyone, I guess, next. What do you say, next Sunday?
I don't know. Obviously, we've got to speak to everyone else and see who's available what day. If it's Sunday, then it'll be me. If it's any time after that, I guess it'll be you and others.
Yeah, I say I'm not back till Tuesday, really. So, Okay, everyone, thanks for listening. Thanks, everyone, for sending in your questions. I hope it's not been too miserable, us moaning about everything, but that is sort of where we are at the moment. It's nice to have Tez back on the group. Thanks for your input today, Tony. Schwinn, we would really like you back on the podcast, joking aside. Tony, sorry, you were saying?
I said no, we wouldn't.
Okay. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you all next week.